Moving on to topic 2, let's talk some WWE 2K24. Let's talk some GM mode. Now, those of you guys who don't know, when I play the WWE games, or at least the most recent 2K releases, GM mode has been where I put like 95% of my time in playing. Whether it's on my own, with friends, family, GM mode is pretty much the mode that takes up my time with those games. And I absolutely love it. I love that they brought the game mode back, and I think the changes, or rather the the way 2K has presented it and built it, not just copy pasting what they did in SmackDown versus Raws of old, but making it their own. I've really appreciated what 2K's done so far with the mode in their build. But there's always things that can improve, and we're back at it. I know we did this last year at some point, but I wanted to talk about hopes and improvements for GM mode for 2K25. I don't know, obviously, in terms of the grand scheme of things, like the player base, where the percentage. Obviously, I know a lot of people play Showcase at the beginning. I know a lot of people do Universe mode, online matches when they work. My faction. It's a very controversial mode. We'll talk about that at some other time. But GM mode, I don't know what the percentage of player base plays it, but it always seems like this mode, when patch notes come out, this mode gets nothing. No TLC, or very limited. And it's like, damn, that sucks. And it's not that the game mode's broken by any means. It definitely works, but there are certainly some areas that it could improve, some bugs that have not been fixed, and selfishly some things I'm just like, that'd be cool if they have. So I just want to talk about it quickly. What could be improved in this mode, what needs to be improved in this mode, and maybe some hopes for down the line. So let's talk about bugs to start off. We'll start negative and we'll work our way into the positives. Some bugs that I've noted recently, and granted, this first one may have been a change that they made. I don't remember seeing it anywhere, but it perhaps could be something that they adjusted to try and make it a little bit more of a balanced experience, which, if so, totally fine with. I just didn't see it posted anywhere clearly. When you win a season, you and your opponents are going after each other, competing to book your shows, your pay-per-views, build your stars up, get more fans being the ultimate currency here. And when you win the season by having the most fans, first place would get a trophy. Woo! And then the ultimate goal is get 10 of those trophies through various means of the game mode to reach the Hall of Fame, and that's how you would win, right? They used to have it where if you got that first place, you would get a trophy because you had the most fans and you got the first place. That would be awarded to you. I don't know if they changed it for balance reasons so people wouldn't slingshot ahead too much and make a giant gap, as we had talked about, I believe, in last iterations improvements thing. But they seem to have gotten rid of that. And it's fine. It's just stressful when it's super close and then you don't have that knowledge. I had that in my most recent playthrough where I wasn't sure if it was a bug or whatever, but those trophies weren't being rewarded. I'm like, what's going on? So take that one with a grain of salt. Maybe it was something they decided to pick out. Maybe it wasn't. But having the knowledge, thinking that was the case, then for it to not to happen, yikes. Now this one, these next two, which are the only ones that I have in terms of bugs, these ones for sure happen. The first one, and the biggest ones, but sometimes power cards used against you will activate for 2 weeks in a row. Now, usually they give you this indicator that power card has been used on you through the little visual of character A, rather GM A, and you. A little whoosh indicator comes across the screen, shows that you've been hit with a double cost, or using the most basic arena this week, or a contract has been taken off by 1 week, whatever it is. They'll show that, I got hit with it, whatever. I've noticed in most of my playthroughs that the 2 times cost for power cards, that little card you can use against your opponents, that activates twice. For some reason, it will hit you the week prior without showing the animation, and then the next week it will show the animation and it will do it again. And the way you know this is because your email system will tell you, hey, something's going on with power cards this week. They've caused double, some union thing, or whatever Triple H says to you. And you're like, okay, that's fine. Obviously, that's a tool the game can use to, use strategy against you or whatever it is. But when it pops up, it's just like, what week is it? I didn't see anything pop up against me. This sucks, dude. So to have it pop up twice, it's a little annoying. I don't know if it's just a CPU to, human player thing. I haven't noticed it with a human-to-human player gameplay. But, yeah, it's just a little silly. That one seems to go into effect 2 times in a row. And then the last one, may be a bug, may not be a bug, but title matches. Sometimes title matches, when you have them, the title will not switch hands from the title holder to the new champion if that person wins. Now, granted, this could be a moment of disqualification for wrestling fans. We know if you get DQ'd in a title match, title doesn't change hands, the person keeps it. It could be that. I've had it run into the instance where it is a normal match, doesn't change. It's a special match where there is no DQ on, it doesn't change. It's been so frustrating because you're like, so-and-so is actually supposed to be the champion, and then you're like trying to work it in your brain. Now I gotta, well, you don't have to, but you're like, I gotta fix a match now to get it to the right person so it's in their hands. Figure it out. My only ask, well, 1, fix that if it is a bug. 2, if it is because a title change doesn't happen because of a disqualification, right? Totally fine. That I'm glad that they implemented that into the logic. I don't want to be reading every match report just to know what went down in the match where they describe, so-and-so had a strong lead, but then this person turned it around and they used their finisher and before somebody did the interference, whatever it is. I don't want to have to read every match report and summary to know what's going on, especially if you're playing with friends. That is a lot of time commitment that is used up there if you're going to go in and check each individual match to know every exact thing. If you have the time, great. Of course, that option is there for you to really read those details, be super analytical. That's great. But sometimes it's just like, there's my star value, and then you're on to the next thing. If a title change does not happen due to DQ, I think that should be more of a clear indicator in the match results. Like, so-and-so won by DQ. You'll have it where you have the 2 characters aligned in the match card. Match will go, whether you simulate it, whatever it is. Simulate it in this experience because you're not watching it, but you'll simulate it. Superstar A will come to the front. This person won, and it will just say they won. It will say your results at the bottom, which has been a huge change of like, this rivalry grew, someone's injured, whatever it is. Those will toggle at the bottom, but it doesn't say how they won, So I think you could just add something to that if it is a disqualification, 1 by DQ, 1 by submission, 1 by pinfall, whatever it is. You could just add that small detail there. I think that would be nice, just so we don't have to dig for those details and wonder, why didn't this person get the championship? Whatever it is. I know it's a small thing, but it's really annoying, especially when you can't go back to those results to then clarify, or you can't go back to, I don't know, whatever it is, to confirm. You can't go back and confirm what actually happened. That's the frustrating part. If it was something where you could check your previous week's results, go in, deep dive after, and be like, Bianca Belair caused a DQ, that's why she didn't lose her title, that would have been a nice thing to know, instead of just everything's up in the air, something didn't work, whatever it is. That would be my kind of hope in terms of just being clear to the player what happened in that. Why didn't things work properly in terms of what should have happened? So there's that. So let's go now into the hopes, the dreams, things like that. So we talked about this last time, but your roster randomness. Now, GM mode is a beautiful mode because it allows you to use custom rosters. Similar to your universe mode, you can download characters off of the community creations, get superstars who maybe just their vintage, maybe they're vintage, they're like different attires, or Seth Rollins in a Shield gear, or you can get different legends that aren't in the game, or you can even get wrestlers from different companies, whether it's TNA, AEW, whatever it is. Download them to the game through the awesome community creation and those guys over there. Download them and put them into your custom rosters for GM mode. Now, personally, what I do is I like making things as accurate as possible to what current day WWE is. So I'll have my SmackDown and Raw superstars. Those are my active superstars. If somebody's been unfortunately released from the company, I'll make them contracted superstars. I'll modify any legends in there. That a little bit is more pick and choose. Just like, who can I think of? I don't know. I'll throw them in there. And then my local talent, I'll have that be the NXT people. And I'll take away all the creative superstars that the game provides for that local talent. But that's how I'll build my roster. Now, obviously, WWE games, there's like 200 wrestlers, superstars per game, right? And then to add all these other components on top of that into these custom rosters, sometimes you don't really get to see everybody in your custom roster just because of the size. So to add a little bit more randomness into the draft pools or the talent scout things that they added this year would be nice. I feel like there's a lot of times where the biggest thing here, I'm going to sneeze, heads up, just in case. Excuse me. Jeez. I think the biggest thing here sometimes I run into is like tag teams, for example. Great. We got the Usos, hypothetically. They're back to working together. Who knows? You can find one Uso, but then the other Uso doesn't show up, or they're never found. You can see that across all the tag teams, I feel, which is a big thing. And then sometimes it's just like, oh, I added a bunch of these superstars here, and then you never see them. And it's just really disappointing because obviously you want to see those new elements. Now, I know you could be, just saying like, oh, well, your roster's too big in your draft pool. And I get it. I definitely get that. Not that criticism, but that point that's being brought up. It's just unfortunate to not have that option, because then it's like, all right, well, who do I go in and cut? And maybe I don't use those people in my roster, but if I am playing a multiplayer game, I want to give those options to people, or give it to the CPU and be like, oh, well, shit, Santos Escobar's world champion for the other brand. They're doing really good, whatever it is. It's fun to see those different elements that the CPU will play around with, or the other players will play around with. That's fun. So I at least like giving the options there. So if we could somehow make it so the discoverability of certain superstars is better, that would be nice. I do think it's improved with segmenting out the ring levels and stuff, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a moment here. But it still feels like it is a search and a hunt to find some people. Now, talking about the talent scout system and the ring level. So this was a new mechanic they added to this year's GM mode. So ring level was like your wrestler's experience in the ring. By competing in matches, they improve. And this would carry over from season to season, where your characters would constantly improve, maybe get to level 25, which is like legend status. And I think with them, I don't know if it gives them any stat boost in terms of like their popularity or their stamina, but what it would do is every 5 levels that they gained, you had the option as the GM of 2 other options in there to be like, okay, how do I want this superstar to be? Do I want them to use less stamina? Do I want them to have a less chance of injuring themselves? Do I want them to have another class that they can change into? And then I recently got to level 25, but those ones are really cool and kind of unique buffs that you could give them. And it just kind of made a little bit more interesting of an appeal to each of the characters as you had them. I think the ring level stuff, that's been cool. That's been a nice thing that, carries over. It feels like that RPG mechanic of leveling up and investing into your superstars makes it more worth it, kind of rewards you a little bit more. That's been great. The Talent Scout system, on the other hand, has been, in my opinion, a little bit of a mixed bag. So what the Talent Scout system is, in previous GM modes, it was you have your roster tab, you have manage roster, which is your current active roster, and then you would have, I don't remember what they would call it, but they would have like free agents and they would have a legends pool. And each of those pools would give you 15 names, maybe 20 on those tabs. And if you want to hire them, you can hire them. And it's got a random assortment of those classes or those statuses based on what you defined, right? I think in the free agent pool, it had like 10 people who were higher level contracts and then 5 to 10 of the local talent. And then the legends were just whoosh, all the legends. And they could be random popularities, random classes, if they're a good guy or a bad guy, male and female superstars, all mixed in there. And you kind of just test your luck like, hey, I actually need a bad guy giant right now. Oh, cool, there's one here. Hire him, It was a way to build your roster, kind of fix yourself or help yourself in a pinch if somebody got hurt, or maybe you just needed somebody to change up a rivalry, whatever it is. It was a nice system, but it was limited to that randomness per week. You couldn't search for anybody if you're like, oh, I really want Rhea Ripley on my roster. You couldn't find her. You just had to hope and pray that she would show up in that random pool and hope that nobody else drafted her. So what they tried to do here with the Talent Scout system is it's still random, but every week, everybody is just thrown together. Local superstars, contracted superstars, legends, pretty much anybody who didn't get drafted that year. They're all thrown in the same pool. And each week, you get 5 talent points or Talent Scout points that you can use. And you have this search bar criteria. Okay, you can search for male or female. That will cost you a point. Good guy, bad guy, that will cost you a point. Their class will cost you a point. And then also their ring level, 0 to 5, 6 through 10, 11 through 15, blah, 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 all the way to 25, right? You could fill in that criteria however you wanted. The more specific you got, the more Talent Scout points it costs, or you could be generic with it and it could just cost 1 or 2 depending on the ring level mainly. Search that and it would pop up or populate 4 superstars. You would default with 4 wrestlers anyway, typically your low levels and your local talent, right? It would give you a default 4. Every time you search, it would give you another 4. Unless you were doing 2 specific criteria, it would only fill 2 or 1, or it would be like, sorry, champ, that's not even an option. I like that you can search for I liked that you could search for those particular components. Like, I really need a cruiserweight right now. I just need to fill this void that I have. I need a male, I need a good guy, I need a cruiserweight. Boom. I liked that you could do that. What I didn't like is that you had no idea if you were looking, once again, for specific people. I have no idea what ring level people are. I have no idea where they're aligned in everything. I just wish it gave you more options. And I know you don't want to just be like, all right, here's the whoosh encyclopedia of everybody who's not hired, and you just boop, 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 go through. I get the random element adds a little bit more excitement into it when you're like, oh, I really found the person I want. Whatever it is, I get that. I just maybe just give us a little bit more instead of just the 4 in there. And I'd also appreciate if they separated out, perhaps like they did have the classes of like, these are your local people, these are your higher level contracts, these are your legends. Now I get it. If you want those higher level people, you just put the ring level at higher. It just sucks to only get 4. So maybe getting more of them would be better. Just to have more options. I don't know. I like it. It's just sometimes it's frustrating. So I don't know. It's not like, oh, this is trash, throw it out. I just think it needs a little bit of tweaking. And obviously I'm not the best at verbalizing what those tweaks should be. It's just a little frustrating at times because, like, you can, when you customize your roster, to circle back to this point, which is awesome, and I love that you can do this with the custom rosters, you can change most you could change most elements of there in that area. Once again, change their status, contract, active, local, maybe not inactive, people you just don't want in there. You could change their default class. You can change their default popularity, the default stamina. You can change all these things. What you can't change is their ring level, which this is going to come in a 1-2 punch here, and I know we've talked about this. So you can't change the ring level. So seeing that roster list, I can't even think of it right now, but whether it's editing the roster list or it's your roster list that you're drafting from in the initial draft for sure, they have their ring level there. But I can't remember if it's in custom roster. But am I expected to memorize what numbers these people have if I really want to search out, oh, such and such wasn't in the draft, I want to find them? Crap, are they a 15 ring level or a 10 ring level? That gets a little frustrating. Maybe it's just me picking, really being nitpicky with that. But that's just something I wish we could do, especially in terms of a dream scenario simulation type game, to make your dream rosters and have them play out this way, unlike a universe mode where, I don't want to play the matches or set up every individual thing that universe mode has to offer. And the storyline aspect, I wish they had this. Now, speaking of ring levels, I'm going to go back to custom rosters for a second. Big improvement that I would appreciate for 2K25. If we're going to keep ring level, which I think we should, because I think that's been a fun mechanic, like I mentioned, of that RPG improvement element. If we're going to keep it, please allow us to edit the base settings in the custom roster page. We talked about this, I believe, shortly after 2K24's release, so this may be rehashing a point, so sorry. Rey Mysterio, obviously, legend, right? If I put him in the active roster, he's costing me $500,000 to hire this man immediately. It doesn't line up with the rest of the superstars. If I add custom superstars, poor Naomi. I downloaded Naomi off the character Community Creations, excuse me. Shout out to that creator. I don't know who you are, but there's a lot of people who probably made her. This poor woman is at a 0 ring level. Can I please improve her to try and put her in a 10, 12, somewhere that makes a little bit more sense? Anyone with your custom roster that you download is like this and is random. And if someone out there who is involved with community creations, I make custom superstars, all this stuff. If you know what elements your creations, how those affect the ring level, because there are some people I download, they have a 5, they have a 10, they line up to, they have some sort of value. I have no idea how to affect or change those. And it's just very frustrating to have like a legend who's a 5. No, I want them to be that higher echelon, that level, to make them feel special. Like, oh, I hired a legend. Similar to ones of the past, they get a popularity boost, whatever it is. There's no way to tweak that right now. So just to have, it takes that element of fun out of it, of like, oh, cool, I added all these people who are these NXT people who didn't make the game, or the current superstars who just came in. Oh, great, but they're not going to make it to the game. And then there's zeros. It's like, well, why do I want to use them? It's going to take forever to level them up, and then my show's going to suffer for it because popularity's ass. It's just very frustrating there. So keep the ring levels, but please let us edit those as well in some way or fashion. That would be very appreciated. Last one that I have is very selfish. Bigger roster, more match slots. Just make me, I want to make more matches. I know that's more aspects to manage in terms of stamina levels and salaries and money and whatnot. I just have a lot of fun. I love having a big roster, especially if you are going to do tag teams. You need a bigger roster, and boy, does it get frustrating when it's like, all right, well, I got my main tag team who are going after the tag team titles, and then you got the third, like, tertiary team, and you're like, how do I keep you guys popular? You can't fight these guys because the rivalry cooldown, and then if I get another tag team, it's just like, where do I put you in? It's tough balancing it with the limited amount of slots. It's like, I don't know how to make a tag team. I can't have a division because they're not enough spots, and then it's like, why do I even use these belts? And then I get yelled at because they're all single matches every week. I know, it's really getting into the weeds. It's the silly stuff. I just wish, from my standpoint, the ability to have a bigger roster and to have more matches throughout. They did improve this, or rather tweak that, in the initial launch, 2K22. I think so. When the mode was introduced, I do appreciate that. And this is a big thing overall. I do appreciate the work that they do have, or they have put in year after year after year. This is a big undertaking for any team to, let's take this mode that has all these components, build it from scratch, make it our own as well. I know it's a big undertaking, and I do appreciate the TLC that I have seen from the yearly releases. So it's not like, they're just kind of throwing this together. I don't think that at all. It's just one of those things that I've noticed is they give options of how you want to play, and I do appreciate that, and I think this could be another layer to that. If you want to only play, like, assign or build 4 matches a week, great, they can give that to you. If you want to do more, I would hope they could give that to us. And we've seen that with the gameplay options that they have already. You got your difficulty sliders, you got your monetary sliders. You can give like $3,750,000 for your initial budget. You do $2 million for your initial budget. You can do match unlocks now, or you can just, everything's unlocked, go crazy. I like that they give those options to us. I hope that in the future they give us more, because that's really, it's really appreciated. Give the players options, play how you want to play, have fun with it. That is what I really like. So mine is just, can we have more money and more match slots, please? That would be nice. But that's all I got for 2K25 GM mode. Hopes, improvements, stuff like that. This is just, like I said, it's the game mode that I go into, spend most of my time playing it throughout the year. It's just some tweaks that I hope to see. Once again, I appreciate that the mode is back. I know Up, Up, Down, Down probably had a huge part of that, just doing their YouTube channel stuff with the GM modes of old. It's probably not going anywhere with their continued support and streaming of it and whatnot. I just, let's keep building it together. You're doing a great job, 2K, in terms of GM mode. Let's keep building upon it. Thank you.